Hey, this is Tim Jones, creator of the Sour Grapes comic strip, and you're listening to the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network.
Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what, I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people, right? You want people to care. You want to strike emotions, and I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one too.
Quarter pounder with cheese in France, Mickey? What? Boy, ale with cheese. Yeah, I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice up my progeny to you, almighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success? Hey everyone, you're listening to Superhero Speak, not the IMDb Hour, and I'm your host, Dave.
And I'm John.
I'm JD. I'm reading this article that John said. It looks like they're still casting. There's not actually filming.
Well, no. Well, wait a minute. No, that's not what it says. It says...
Yes, it does. It says that they're looking for a male lead. This guy isn't signed yet. I actually read the article.
Oh. Because 3 of the articles I was reading were saying it's already filming.
No, they're still casting.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, so...
We're already off the rails, and we haven't even introduced ourselves.
I know. Well, we did.
We introduced ourselves. You're the one who's dropping the ball, Dave.
Yeah. Yeah, Dave.
Well, John, you're the one doing research that's wrong. Well, so anyway.
Hey, superhero hype and what's on Netflix. Put them next to We Got This Covered Now. Because, obviously...
Okay, it does say it started production, but it also says they don't have people cast.
Yes, there's a difference between starting production and filming.
Why don't I question this source? The series doesn't have a... Well, it says in this article, Neil Gaiman has confirmed the series doesn't have a cast yet. How can they be filming it?
It says we started shooting on Thursday.
It just says, like, you further down the article you go, it says Neil Gaiman has confirmed the series doesn't have a cast yet.
Okay, look. There's a tweet from Neil Gaiman. Look at this one. Here's superhero hype.
John, I can only read the things that you send as corroborating sources.
I know. I was hoping not to give you superhero hype because their website, brings your computer down if you leave it open.
What's on Netflix.com is sketchy. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay, superhero hype, but still, they added the tweet from Neil Gaiman. It says, we started shooting on Thursday. Dr. John Hathaway has brought a book from the museum in which he works to Roderick Burgess. So you're right. It's going to be time to announce some casting scene. How do they start shooting and not have casting?
This is what I'm talking about. This is so weird.
I don't know either, because I know that there's stuff that is currently filming, and then all of a sudden they'll say this person got cast, and it's like, I thought they were already filming that. So
if it's like for a walk-on or something like that, or a one episode thing, that makes complete sense. But I mean, who the heck is playing Morpheus? This dude, and according to this thing, it's just this guy is being eyed. Doesn't say he's signed, but again, the source, John's sources.
Yeah. So for those who are wondering what we're talking about, apparently, John brought up a source saying that the Sandman series was already filming, but yet we can't find corroborating evidence to prove it.
Why do I do things? Well, I mean, look, there's a whole bunch of chatter about it, and a lot of the headlines. I should temper myself. It's like, what does the media want? They want clickbait now. They don't actually do news anymore. So what do they do? All their headlines say it's begun shooting, and then you get into the gory details. And it's like, well, even the main character hasn't really been signed yet. It's like, well, how do you start shooting then?
Well, they could do. There's stuff they could do, especially if they follow the first arc of Sandman. I mean,
true.
Sure,
you only need one for that.
Yeah, it's still weird. The Sandman audiobook is out, and it's actually really good. Ewan McGregor, I believe, is Dream in that.
Well, that's nice.
So besides giving us false research, John, what have you been up to this week?
Absolutely freaking nothing.
Oh, well, that's good.
Wrote a few pages, probably in the span of time it took JD to crap out a book.
Thanks for saying crap. I appreciate it.
I didn't mean that. I mean, you're killing me. It's going to be a work of art. But
James McAvoy, not you, McGregor. My mistake. Sorry.
But otherwise, yeah, not really anything. I did check out Hellstrom.
I did too,
and it's good.
It is good.
Now I'm wondering. I'm hoping. Now I see. The thing is, like, if you go the route of Swamp Thing, it's DC. It did die before the first episode even aired, but now it's going to the CW. That was possible at DC. With Marvel, because this was done under what's his name, who Kevin Feige, that all the Marvel uppers hated or whatever, and because it's so edgy and Marvel's now the mouse, I don't know that they're going to pick it up for. I mean, it's technically right now there's not going to be a second season. So it's stillborn.
Stillborn.
It's still catchy. I've only seen two episodes of it so far. How far are you into it, JD?
Just one. I just watched the first one Friday night. I'm gonna try to. I just haven't had a ton of time to binge an entire show.
Yeah,
but it was bad. I liked it. It was it hit. It's not perfect. If you know the character, the serial killer father is going to turn out to be a demon, questionably Satan, which follows the origin. I kind of like what they're doing with Satana, especially calling her Anna, because calling her Satana is a little on the nose.
Well, not having the main character also have a bare chest with a pentagram inscribed in it.
Well, he's got it, but I like what they worked into it. He's got a scar.
Yeah,
that the old man carved into him, and it's switched up. It's been a birthmark sometimes. They've tried to make it a tattoo recently.
He's been rebooted a couple of times.
It has been, because they're trying to find a new audience for it. The tricky part with Hellstorm was trying not to make it it's hard to say a Hellblazer knockoff because the character came first, but Constantine was such a more successful character. So the tricky part is that, and I like that they kind of went, like, they actually tapped into a lot of the old, I love this character, the old Steve Gerber stories with him working with Gateway University and working with the church, because the original Son of Satan is a failed priest.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like, it really kind of falls in line with the original, not so much the Warren Ellis stuff, but the original Steve Gerber stuff. He's doing exorcisms, like that is Damon Hellstrom. So I'm like, okay, I like where this is going so far. I want to check the whole series out. Of course, before making that was going to be my recommendation for the week, but I like it. It's been good.
Yeah. Well, good. I mean, they differentiated him enough from Hellblazer.
Constantine.
Yeah, Constantine. They differentiate him enough that I was thinking the same thing while I was watching the first and second episode. It's like, wow, either him and Constantine would get along, like old brothers in a pub, or they would kill each other.
They would hate each other too. You don't like people that are too similar to you, especially those guys who don't really like each other to begin with. Who don't like themselves,
I don't think they're that similar. I don't think they hate. I think
they both don't like you. They both don't like themselves.
True.
Like that's a big part of the Son of Satan character is he hates the fact that he is the son of Satan, and he's constantly trying to overcompensate for the fact that he's a failed Antichrist, essentially. And John Constantine's got a little bit of that self-hatred too, where he's, just regular, I don't really like myself all that much, So I don't think there's enough similarities between them where I think if they did ever cross over, they would absolutely hate each other. It's too bad Anaglam Comics isn't a thing anymore, because the Son of Hellstrom would be kind of cool as a title.
I just thought that a death battle between those two would be perfect.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
It would be tricky. It would be tricky to figure out who would win, because they both have. They're both very tricky.
So Constantine's a street level wizard, whereas Hellstrom is the son of a demon.
Right, but Constantine is constantly beating.
No, for sure, because he outsmarts everybody. That's Constantine's kind of thing. He's a con artist, whereas Hellstrom's really working with like confronting demons, and he's all about exorcisms and stuff like that. So it would be interesting. It would definitely be a battle of wits. One that I would like to write in case the Anaglam Comics thing ever comes back, which it never will. So I'm throwing my pitch out there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Dave, isn't this your show?
Yeah, I was going to say, Dave, did we take this from you?
We just totally commandeered the show.
Hey! It's
Welcome to the Hellstrom Hour with John and JD.
So JD, besides watching the first episode of Hellstrom, have you been up to anything?
Yeah, I actually had a cool announcement. I haven't even put this on Twitter yet. I got offered a small job and I'm going to take it. I'm now officially part of the staff of Fight Game Media. It is an outlet that reports on pro wrestling, boxing, MMA, and I'm going to be doing some amateur wrestling stuff for them on top of pro wrestling stuff as both a writer and a Patreon exclusive podcast. So, and this is I'm getting paid, so it's pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So all this time bullshitting is paid off. We're going to be hosting one of the nichiest podcasts of all time. We're doing, it's again Patreon exclusive, so you can get super niche. We're doing one focusing again. This is hasn't official. Yeah, I probably should keep my mouth shut because it's not official yet. But it's going to be super super niche. We'll just leave it at that.
Oh, okay, good.
I don't want to get myself in trouble. But yeah, I'm back in the writing for I guess it's not really journalism, but kind of opinion pieces game. So pretty cool.
You're part of the media machine now.
Kind of. So they're just kind of sitting on the outside of it, poking the bear.
Time to start spreading rumors then.
Oh,
I mean, that's not wrong. That's, we're not going to do that. And that's not kind of what I'm interested in. This is more of like, even the guys that are really getting it going, we're more interested in trying to do stuff that's not clickbaity. Cause like, we're not trying to break news. We're just writing opinion pieces on MMA and wrestling and boxing. So it's more talking about stuff than trying to scoop anything.
Cool.
So the chance of making a lot of money is nil, but it's fun. I'm excited.
This is true.
Cool. How are you, Dave? What happened with you this week?
I get to talk now. Not much. I'm in the next. I went down another decade in my weight. So
yeah, all right,
Jeez,
man.
Louise, you're making me feel really bad.
That was
What's our total at right now?
The total?
No, the total that you lost. Let's go.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, what is your standing? Like, how many pounds have you lost?
I guess officially is 85, but I don't know.
My man,
Christ, Dave.
I don't know what I really was at my heaviest because I stopped weighing myself at a certain point. So
which is a good move. That's what everybody. No, I'm really happy for you, man. I'm really proud of you. Like in this COVID world where a lot of people have gained weight by being locked in their houses, like you have gone in the complete opposite direction. I'm really, really proud of you, dude.
Impressive.
Though I was bad today.
That's okay.
Walking home from the gym, I stopped at the pretzel factory and I got some soft pretzels and I ate them.
Bro, I was also in error. I got a good kettlebell workout in the basement. We had dinner and then I had an ice cream bar.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
I went to the store and got a bag of those Pepperidge Farm Chesapeake Bay chocolate chip cookies.
So we all suck.
Yeah.
We're all terrible, terrible people.
Well, I only had one today, but I put them there, and then that's my goal is to pass by, just to walk past every day and not have any. But they're there in case you know those cravings that you get, right? Like it's just like,
oh yeah,
I need. It's just
I get it.
Yeah, and then of course, so I wanted to give an update because we kind of mentioned it a couple of weeks ago about my daughter. She hasn't given birth yet. She's been in and out of labor for like a month now.
She's going to keep them in there until they're in college, right? Is that what this is?
Well, it's only one this time. So,
oh God, I wouldn't wish two sets of twins on anybody.
No.
Jesus.
So I just when this goes out, if she hasn't given birth yet, they're going to have to make a decision whether or not to go to the hospital and induce. And, so I'm just asking our listeners, keep my daughter in your thoughts and prayers. Do you
guys know yet, boy or girl?
Oh, it's a girl. Yeah.
All right.
Claire.
Claire. I like that name.
Claire Heinrich.
My brother just had a little girl, the first girl of all the new kids, all the grandkids for my parents. They named her Maeve.
Maeve?
Maeve.
Yeah.
What is that?
That's old Irish goddess name.
Huh.
Who do I know named Maeve?
Why do you know a Maeve?
Yes.
Blew my mind.
I know that name and I can't think why I know the name. Like I know someone with that name.
Maeve is an old Gaelic hero, I think.
Yeah.
So
Maeve. I'll write that down.
So yeah, that's been my week. Except also, I guess we should get into this.
No.
Oh, let's do this. Dave was the one causing trouble on social media instead of me.
Then I want to get into it. Yes, let's do this.
I finished watching The Boys season 2. John, did you finish watching it?
I have one episode left, but I already know what's going on. It's hard to hide from the media these days. So I know the plot and I know what happens. I just
and JD, you're still boycotting the show.
I'm not boycotting. I'm just not watching. It's not a boycott. You have to be like conscious to do a boycott. Like it's not on my mind, so I don't.
So
care.
the whole thing is like I listened to a bunch of podcasts where they basically were talking about the show, and it was just like everyone's talking about it. I got to get it finished, so I finished it up this weekend. I got to the end, and I'm like, God, I'm tired. Like I just did not enjoy that at all. So I posted on Facebook that like I think I'm done with the show. I don't think I can watch this anymore. And boy, okay. So then my cousin, she just, innocently asked, why didn't you, why do you say that? And my reasoning, simply, I'll put this out there simply, and then I can get into details if people want, is that it's basically too nihilistic. Like I kind of feel like, and JD, I'm sure you back me up on this opinion, Alan Moore wrote Watchmen in 1984, and everyone's been trying to copy it ever since.
1986.
And
but that seems to be like the standard these days, or like this era of this kind of story writing is all nihilistic. Like it's very hard to find a show that is upbeat or like, gives you rays of actual hope. They all seem to be writing where it's just utter horror and depravity and, nothing good ever really happens in the end.
Anyway.
Hold that thought. I have something on this, John. But go ahead, Dave.
Okay.
I was going to say, did you watch Stargirl? Because I kind of felt...
no, well, that's an example. That's the thing that breaks the rule.
But one show has caught more of a cultural zeitgeist than the other.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. So and it's funny. So this is my own Facebook page. I basically just say I've watched the second season. I'm kind of done with the show. I tell my cousin, she asks why. I'm like, it's kind of nihilistic. It's and I kind of need someone to root for in the show, and there's no one to root for on this show, and I just can't do it anymore. I'm done. And all of these people started jumping on saying, basically, my opinion was wrong.
Dave might as well have said, I hate puppies. They should be. I mean, it was that bad. Like, I went on there and I was like, dang. And I thought I like to stir the pot a little bit. But, like, Dave, you were, like, just lambasted by lots of people for this opinion.
But I would have been right there with Dave on this one.
I was. I agree with Dave. And then I did start stirring the pot.
I mean, and let's be honest. One of my main gripes with the show, besides that there's no one to root for, is that
you're supposed to be rooting for the canary. But
yes, but even I didn't agree with his attitude towards the end of the show, and that's kind of why I was like, I kind of gave up. And the canary is. Did you read the book, JD?
I read the first trade or like the first half of the first trade and put it away.
Yeah. Okay. So Yui, they keep referring to as the canary in season 2.
Also the gremlin.
But it was also like every episode, there's at least one major shock and plot twist.
Yeah.
And it's like, by the time you get to the 8th episode and they throw 5 shocks and 5 plot twists within the episode, you're just so exhausted by the end. And you can't keep topping yourself. So that eventually it's going to be like, okay, another plot twist. Here we go again. You're going to start expecting it, And that's when it's just like, that's why I don't see this lasting. It's more, I kind of feel like it's more flash than substance at this point.
I've always felt that way about it.
It's like, let's see how we can shock people this week to get them to come tune in next week. How can we shock? I kind of felt like give you an example. I think a great example of this is Lost, where Lost was such a popular show, but they kept trying to make it more and more complicated and throwing more and more things in it, that by the time they got to the end, it was like, how do we end this? They're all dead in purgatory. Like, that wasn't the plan from the beginning.
No, they had no plan from the beginning. That was the problem with Lost, is that they had this great idea for them stuck on the island, and then when it worked, they were like, well, shit, we didn't plan for what this actually meant. It was literally just they were stuck on the island, and then everybody made their own assumptions and were looking deep into things that weren't there, and then they built this level of expectations that they couldn't fulfill because they hadn't done the groundwork. Like they hadn't built the structure. So Lost is something different. I know people that love Lost, but most people are with you on that, Dave.
Well, it was writing by the seat of their pants.
It absolutely was.
The whole time.
It was the absolute definition of pantsing a story.
But I kind of feel like that's where they're writing themselves into that corner with this show, I think.
Odd with it based off of a series of, comics.
Yeah.
No, and I agree with you. And I think this is I think this kind of goes in as like, I'm going to give me a diatribe for a second here. I wrote this paper in college about how after the Vietnam War, there was a rise in horror films and like Satanism and stuff like that, because Americans were so thoroughly depressed with Watergate and the war and just all this blah. And that was reflected in pop culture, and people latched onto that because for some reason, like they don't like, I wrote about the psychological thing. People don't want to feel better. They want to actually feel worse. And so that stuff became really popular until America was done feeling bad and done feeling nihilistic. And that's why Star Wars comes along at the right place at the right time. And there's been this ebb and flow, that goes on forever with pop culture, where things get dark, people start believing in heroes again. And then they start trending a little bit more, jaded and nihilistic. And it comes back and it comes up and it comes down. And right now with the pandemic and with things being what they are, people are not feeling great. And they can latch onto a show like The Boys and say, see, this is what it is. And I think that because we've all been reading comics for a long time, you guys probably a good solid decade more than me, like we've seen this before.
Right.
Like I've read all these hot takes of The Boys changes everything you think you know about superheroes. Like, nah, it really doesn't.
Nah, yeah.
Well, it really doesn't.
It depends on your personality type too, because like in times like this, I'm looking for something uplifting to keep my spirits up.
Exactly.
But I think that's because we like superheroes.
Yes.
And that's
I guess.
the difference. Like some people, they like superheroes because it's a cultural trend, not because they actually like superheroes, like comic book stories. I think that if you actually like superheroes, like you can have feet of clay. The characters on the characters on The Boys are not feet of clay heroes. They're just bad people. There's a difference.
Yes.
Good night, buddy. Sorry, the 4-year-old dropped in.
It could be worse. Could be a cat.
So exactly, and it's funny because like even in our intro, where we have Brett Culp, who created the documentary Legends of the Dark Knight and Look to the Sky, which is about people looking, and he says, I want to do something good in the world like my hero did when I was a kid. There's a reason that clip is in the intro of this show. And his documentaries are about finding inspiration in heroes, not in villains and not in anti-heroes, in heroes to do good in the world and to change the world. Where so if the entertainment world or the art world or whatever is only reflecting the negative, then the world's going to get more negative, in my opinion.
I don't know if it gets more negative, but I see where you're coming from. And I think that, again, when Alan Moore did his stuff, I mean, we're talking mid 80s. So we're a good 10 years after Star Wars and people were ready to start feeling bad again, and that's why stuff like Watchmen and the Squadron Supreme, Dark Knight Returns, those are all very cynical takes on superheroes. And that swipes through. And then in the 90s, we kind of get that other, they become edgy, but they're heroes again. You know what I'm saying? Say what you want about 90s comics. The heroes were heroes, and they weren't nearly as cynical as the stuff in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
We kind of go through this up and down.
And to John's point about wanting to feel good, when I got a chance to do a guest spot on Fans on Patrol, and they were like, oh, we want you to pick a movie that we can review, like a classic movie. I was like, Superman, the 1978 Superman movie, because there's a movie that makes you feel good about yourself and gives you something, a hero to look up to, and it's like, I needed that, at that point.
Yeah. Nobody comes out of that movie feeling down.
Right.
You come out humming Williams. I mean,
cynical people. There are people that don't believe in heroes. And we've had a good 12 years of heroes being on top. So it doesn't surprise me that something like The Boys can come along and catch the cynical side of people going, yeah, man, if there were superheroes, they'd be shitty people because we're all shitty people. And there's a zeitgeist to it. And I get it. I was just surprised with the amount of vitriol you got for saying, I just didn't like this. You didn't put it on the superhero speak page, right?
Right.
Put it on your page where it was your opinions, and you got unfairly trashed, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's another thing that's tough about social media. It's like you can't go against the zeitgeist. You can't go against the popular opinion because...
Oh, you can. You just have to be ready and understand what's going to happen. Now you will. Now you get it.
or you just disable the comments because.
Or just, I'll tell you. Here's a trick that I got on Facebook right now. I throw a comment out there. I turn off notifications and I hide it from my own timeline, so I can just say whatever I want. Nobody, and if people respond and go crazy, I'll never know.
Yeah, no,
I'm much happier that way.
So you might as well just be throwing Chum out in the Jaws movie.
Kind of.
But yeah,
yes,
I mean
that
would save your sanity.
Yes, no, but yeah, and then of course Joey from So Wizard, he came in and he's like, yeah, it's not the popular opinion, but I see your point, you know, because they just reviewed the season and you know they all loved it and they're all ready for season 3, but it's just like, I don't think I'll be able to do it, you know.
It's not us.
And I'll say this too, and people can agree or disagree with this. I'm okay with that. I understand it's becoming more and more popular to put politics into stuff, and the last few episodes they're so in your face with the politics with this. It just turned me off.
It was purposeful. I mean,
of course it is.
I know, but like that turned me off. I'm like, I don't want that much, you know, commentary on modern politics in my TV shows. Well, again, it's escapism.
Exactly. That's just what I was about to say. You, especially when it comes to superhero stuff, you prefer escapism. And I get what they're trying to do. I just think that Alan Moore does it a lot more deftly and more intelligently than Garth Ennis. I don't have a hatred for Garth Ennis. He's just not my favorite. He's just not my cup of tea because he's just so nihilistic. Like Preacher too. Preacher's super nihilistic.
Yeah.
Like you can't. And again, that's the appeal of Garth Ennis. Is he's just going to make you feel terrible.
I couldn't even finish the Preacher TV series. It was just too.
There's people that love it, and I get it. More power to them. All I'm saying is when someone goes, you know, it's not for me. Don't get the social media wagons out to attack someone because he didn't dig what you dig. Jesus Christ.
The appeal is that he will make you feel bad. That's not an appeal.
Well, but I mean, there's people. But I mean, like again, I've never met the man. I don't dislike him by any stretch of imagination. He's a fantastic writer. It's just not for me. And again, I get on Mark Miller because I think Mark Miller tends to bend that way a little bit too. But Garth Ennis takes it to another level, you know?
Yeah. I'll give you that. I don't know. And the other thing is like people, again, we also compare it to Watchmen, but I think the big difference with The Boys and Watchmen, besides the fact that The Watchmen's a single contained story and all the spinoff stuff is just garbage.
Not all. Damon Lindelof nailed it. Like for everything that, I know you haven't seen it, but for everything that I'm hearing about The Boys, like Watchmen starts off very dark. It puts you into a dark place with dark situations, but heroes do win out and you leave Watchmen shockingly feeling good.
So, but
that's next on my list.
But
good, man.
But here's the thing with Watchmen,
the TV show, not the movie. The book does not make you feel good. Let me just throw that out there.
The comic Watchmen, Asmodeus, even though he's the villain, and you might not agree with what he's doing, you can see his point. Same thing with Thanos in Infinity War.
Yeah, the hallmark of any really good villain is that there's a part there where they are the hero. At the very least, they think they're the hero.
Yeah, they think they're the hero. Like a good villain, a good heel, if you will, feels justified, and he can justify everything. And you're supposed to go, yeah, okay, but
right.
There's nothing about Homelander or Vought that's like you could justify what they're doing. And
no, they're trying to make you feel sympathy for Homelander by giving you Stormfront, who's like even worse than him.
But that didn't work.
A legitimate Nazi.
Yeah, an actual Nazi.
And that's the whole thing. But like it didn't to me that didn't work, and it was just like, oh, come on, you know. So yeah, it was just like, oh, it was terrible. I mean, I will say this: you haven't watched it yet. I was thankful what happened to Stormfront by the end. Like, yes, that she got what she deserved. But yeah, no, I was just so tired by the time I got there, you know?
Yeah. And again, it's not what this show is really about. You know, like we like superheroes despite their flaws. Like, and it's just like something like the boys. I don't think is for us.
No, not at all.
So the second half of the show, Dave, you know what? We could skip, the social media madness. We could skip that and go right to the news.
Second that emotion.
But
I know it's a gimmick. It's a gimmick.
It's part of our. It's part of our thing. In fact, one of the things I wanted to do real quick, if I could bring the email back up.
One of these days when we do social media madness, I'm just going to stick a mannequin in the chair here.
Here is something we haven't done in a while, and we have talked about this and trying to do this more on the show. Again, if you're listening to the show and you're not a subscriber yet, make sure you're subscribed on either Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, all those great places. Now, here, we haven't done this in a while. Here are a couple recent reviews we got on Apple Podcasts.
Oh, reviews of us? Wait, how many swear words are there in them?
No, they're short and they're really nice. Mama Labs said, love it. Super amazing podcast with the best hosts. Highly, highly recommend.
Thank you to you and your labs.
And then Greasy Satchel said, title says it. Want to know about superheroes and have fun doing it? This is the one. Subscribed.
Thank you. Please clean your satchel.
So also, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts and you enjoy the show, please head on over and give us a 5-star review, or give us a 5-star rating or a review, or both, because it actually helps increase our visibility on the platform and helps get us more listeners.
Please bow down before the algorithm. The algorithm is our God in the podcast world. Render unto it. Yeah. So it will render back onto us.
Almighty algorithm. Cool. So on that note, we'll take our first commercial break and we'll be right back with Social Media Madness.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
And we're back. Oh, John, we're not going to get away from this.
Why? By all that's good and pure, why?
This is what we do. Now shut up and take it like a man.
All right.
I've never taken anything like a man.
So not long ago we did a list of our favorite villains, and John, you weren't here for that, but Lillian Sue chimed in, said, "Depends on how you define villain. I love Loki, Dex, and from Daredevil, Billy Russo, Punisher, and Grant Ward from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for several reasons. Each are also relatable in their own ways."
Kind of hits back to what we said earlier.
Yes. See, relatable villains. Unlike the boys. Thank you for that comment, Lillian. I'm not Lillian. Yeah. And on the return of the Animaniacs, Kevin Glennon said, one of the best written shows of all time, regardless of category. Glad my kids will get a chance to experience what was so great for my friends and I.
Well, they could also experience like the original greatness by getting the, Blu-rays.
It's on Hulu, right?
On Hulu. Who buys Blu-rays? Yeah, it's either on Hulu or Netflix or something. It's out there.
I still like, owning my stuff. But yeah, I mean, like if you're just going to show them. But yeah, go to Hulu. Like the originals, they only age a little bit in some of the references, but the jokes and the pratfalls are still hilarious.
Yeah, it's like watching. It's very much like watching a Looney Tune from the 40s or 50s. Like some of the jokes don't land because times change and maybe you don't know who Humphrey Bogart is, but it's still funny. Like Animaniacs is the same, and I'm looking forward to them doing new stuff because goddamn, that's a good show.
Yeah, you still look at the kids nervously when they say fingerprints.
See, now I had my hot take on the boys.
Yeah.
The fans of Colt 45, who may also listen to our show, are about to hear a hot take from Random Randy Savage on Thor: Love and Thunder. So we had talked about Natalie Portman had revealed some plot details, apparently about Thor: Love and Thunder, and Random Randy Savage replied first with a GIF saying "boo."
Meryl Streep boo on top of that.
Yes, and then followed it up with, "But for real, I'm not excited, but I wasn't excited for Thor Ragnarok, and it only took me 15 times for me to appreciate it."
Oh my gosh.
15th, really? He did. Hey, I guess there's something for everybody, and not everything lands with everyone.
Yeah.
First person I've heard say a negative thing about Ragnarok.
Yeah, me too. Huh.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting because and it's funny because when I listen to their show, like a lot of his opinions, I agree with. So it's kind of funny.
Bring him on the show.
You hear that, Randy?
We must castigate him in front of everyone.
Ooh.
I said castigate, not castrate.
Public podcast flogging.
There you go.
So there's your invitation, Randy. I know it sounds exciting now. Of course, last week we also talked about Batman: The Long Halloween, and Timothy Jones said, "I've never read this series, but I think I'll pick it up and sit with a big bag of Halloween candy that I'm not supposed to have." Get it? Long Halloween, Halloween candy.
That's a Tim Jones joke. I was just going to let it go.
Yeah. Love you, Tim. Yeah.
And I'm disturbed that my father-in-law introduced my son to candy corn, and the kid is raving about how good candy corn is.
Oh my God.
It's the first moment I've had as a parent where I'm thoroughly disgusted with my child's opinion.
First, it's like candy corn. Candy corn,
Dave. Ugh.
First, it's candy corn. Then it's Peeps, and suddenly they're giving out. They're popping Werthers. I mean, it's just
sweet
horrible.
Jesus. That's that's the devil's triangle right there.
Speaking of the devil's triangle, JVD of the Villain's Demand said definitely a Batman classic.
Yes.
And then finally. We had talked about the Invincible trailer, and we got Kevin Glennon is saying, I don't know, the baseball going around the world concept was totally original and cool, but the trailer told us, well, not much. Superman is perhaps the most boring character of all time, and I really hope this isn't that. It's Kirkman. Big, huge promise. That it's Kirkman, there's huge promise. Okay, sorry. No, this is definitely not Superman.
No. Not even close.
And I'm tired of that Superman's the most boring character business. When he's written well, he's not.
People say that never watched Superman. I've never read a good Superman story and never watched Superman. That's a cultural meme that's up there with Aquaman is stupid. And it's even worse because Superman is awesome. Superman, I said cultural meme. I don't say I believe it. It's just that's the cultural meme. Superman is one of the greatest characters in popular fiction.
Which brings me to another point about The Boys. Damn it. I'm going to die on this hill. Obviously, the Seven is a surrogate of the Justice League, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And the Deep is Aquaman.
Yep. And they are making fun. Yeah.
And that's the whole thing is so the Deep did something at the beginning of the first season. We won't get into details on the show because it's not a topic I'm comfortable talking about. And he was kicked out, and the whole rest of the first season and this whole season, it's been him trying to go on a redemption tour, basically, to get back into the Seven
and becoming a Scientologist.
Essentially, yeah, they have a church in the show, which is basically a parody of Scientology. But again, I never read the book, and when they were reviewing on one of the podcasts, they talked about the Deep and I can't wait for him to eventually be redeemed to get back in the Seven. And one of the hosts who's read the book is well, you're going to be waiting forever because it never happens. He's kind of like the punchline of the book, and it's just well, there you get that just ruins it for me too. Why can't he be redeemed? Because
no one is redeemable. There is no redemption.
That's the whole point of the book.
That's Garth Ennis. No
exactly.
One. That's what I'm talking about with the cynicism and the nihilism.
Yeah, so fuck you, Garth Ellis. Anyway,
people are bad.
On that note, here's our good friend D Squared to tell you how you can be a part of Social Media Madness.
You too can get castigated by us.
Enjoying the show? Want to be part of Social Media Madness? Make sure you are following superheroespeak.com, where you can find all of the show's social media links at the top of the page. While you're there, you can check out old episodes of the podcast as well as some other great content. Check the site often because we are posting some great comic reviews as well as comic book and movie news content every day. Make sure and follow us on Twitter at SuperheroSpeak. And while you're there, check out the rest of the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. You can follow them at @stars_geek. The Geek World All-Star Podcast Network include great programs such as the Pop Prison Power Podcast, Cult 45, So Wizard, Fans on Patrol, the Gorilla Brain Podcast, and of course, Superhero Speak. Search for #GWAllStars. You will not be disappointed. Now it's back to Dave and the boys on Superhero Speak.
Thanks, Don, and don't forget to check out the. Oh wait, what's the name of the show again?
Also, Omega Level Nerds. He changed the name of the show.
That's right. Check out the Omega Level Nerds podcast, available on Twitch, YouTube, and wherever podcasts are available. All right. And on that note, we're going to take our next commercial break, and we'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right. We're back, and we've got some news. So the first one's kind of interesting here, guys. We had talked about Tatiana Maslany being cast as She-Hulk, and we were all very excited about that casting. Apparently, she denied in an interview that she was cast as She-Hulk.
Were there a bunch of Marvel ninja lawyers behind her when she said that? Or
no, hold on. Everyone's been pointing out that after Paul Rudd got cast as Ant-Man, he was asked on a red carpet event about it. He said, "Oh no, there's no truth to that," and we all know that he's Ant-Man. Mm-hmm. So it's making people wonder, like, is that how serious their NDAs are? They're not allowed to talk about it until they officially get the go ahead.
Probably.
Or is she really not cast? Because she kind of said it was a mix-up, and the press release wasn't supposed to go out. It wasn't official. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is she cast? Is she not cast?
I don't know which one of her personalities said that it denied it.
Wow.
I mean, well, I mean, it's possible. I mean, there's still a high probability that she is, and it's basically that someone jumped the gun.
Yeah, I hope so, because again, I think that casting is brilliant.
Or it could be a trial balloon where it was purposefully leaked so that she can negotiate a higher salary.
Ever since Ryan Reynolds leaked that footage.
Yep. Well, that footage, he had to do that in order to get the film actually made. They're making this film. This is a matter of she deserves a high salary, and if maybe
she's an amazing actress. Yeah, you can't.
Playing hardball with the mouse is not a good move.
No, it's not.
I don't know about this one. I don't know. It's possible. It's possible that she's not cast. It's possible they're playing hardball. I don't know. I don't know what to think.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have to see. I don't know. I kind of hope it's not true. I hope she's She-Hulk, but we'll see what happens. Speaking of the mouse, Jon Favreau has recently said in an interview that The Mandalorian Season 3 is on track to begin filming by the end of this year.
And there was much rejoicing, and they ate Sir Robin's minstrels.
So there's a reason I brought this up, right? Because people are, obviously with COVID, there's still issues with filming stuff and whatnot. But if you guys watch the behind the scenes stuff for Mandalorian Season 1 and whatnot, you know that they did something different with how they filmed this.
Video walls.
Yes, like it's a total virtual environment. They can stick them anywhere they want in this studio they built. It uses the Unreal Engine, which that blew my mind.
It must be a much later version because the original Unreal, like they've been making the Unreal Engine better and better and better for like the last 25, 30 years.
Oh, I'm sure it's like, probably the latest version. And like those scenes where they're on a desert planet, they're on that stage.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like they're really on Tatooine or wherever they're supposed to be.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
It's revolutionary.
So, and you're closer to the film industry than John and I, JD. Do you think this might be the future of filming?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's cheaper and it's faster. And they've cheaper might okay, so anyone can do like chroma key, old school, green screen, blue screen. Anybody can do that. Doing it right takes a lot of money and a lot of like time. Like I can knock out a green screen with my a phone and a Mac, but like to do it to the point where it looks good and have realistic backgrounds, it's really tricky. These video walls create a sense of depth that just isn't there with regular chroma key. Like this is like next level stuff. I was talking to my buddy who was working on it, and he was explaining it to me before it happened. It just kind of blew my mind that this is possible. So it doesn't surprise me they can knock this stuff out. Like filmmaking is super expensive. The more we can find ways to make it cheaper and more effective to do these kind of things, the better it's going to be, specifically for TV, because people want these long drawn out stories, especially now that, let's be real, theaters are going to be struggling for a long time.
And that's a huge revenue stream that the movie makers have lost. So.
Absolutely. It's not good for them because like if you could provide Mandalorian type stuff at home, like why go to the movie theater? You know what I'm saying? I don't want to say it's the future because it's being done, but it's not quite the present either. It's pretty much what Lucas was 40 years ago.
Right.
And he was doing when he was combining computers and miniatures to do Star Wars. Like Star Wars has always been on the absolute forefront. Lucas was the first person to use high definition video cameras in 2001 actually, when they shot Attack of the Clones. Like he was the first person to put actual celluloid by the wayside. And now, dude, no one shoots on film anymore. Everything's digital. And that came from Star Wars. So, I mean, like, it does not surprise me at all that once again, they're on the forefront. This is it, man. This is cool shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it looks amazing. Like, you can't tell they're not on set. Yeah, it's, and the thing is too, right? Like, one of the things they were saying is that instead of just filming against a green screen, they can interact with stuff in the environment easier because it's at eye level. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not seeing a stick with a green tennis ball on it. They're seeing a thing in front of them,
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's amazing. So
and you know what the next step from that is? Oh, wow. You mean that actor died? Because I saw him in this movie just now.
Well, they tried that already with the Star Wars with Grand Moff Tarkin.
I do not feel like that was a solid try, because I've seen some anime that looked better than that from some of the anime studios that actually use CGI, and it was so much better. I mean,
I'm gonna tell you this. Look up on YouTube. There's videos where they take stuff like that and they use deep fake technology and they clean it up and it looks 1,000 times better.
Deep fakes are scary. Like some of the really like the top of the line deep fake technology is freaky.
Yeah, like they've cleaned up this Princess Leia and that ending scene in what's the name of that?
Skywalker.
Movie? No. Rogue One.
Rogue One. Yeah.
Like these guys used the deep fake technology, cleaned it up, and it looked so much more realistic. Like, yeah, that was really Carrie Fisher standing there.
Did you see it was like a year or so ago, someone effed around with the deep fake stuff, and they put there was a scene from Back to the Future where they're in the high school, and it's Doc Brown and Marty, and they slapped Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr.'s faces on.
Yep.
And like it looked pretty damn good. Like I don't know how hard that would be to do for an entire movie, nor do I want to see it, but it looked pretty good.
Someone took the scene with Superman at the beginning of Justice League, where they have the video of him and he's talking,
and fixed his mustache,
and they deep faked it. So basically, like that's replacing his face with his own face, and it was like, oh my god, it looks 1,000 times better. Why didn't Warner Brothers just think to do that in the first place?
I don't know if they had, because it's 3 years old. I don't know if the deep fake technology is quite where it was then. Like it's still pretty cutting edge stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting to see where we're going. It's a scary and exciting time.
Did you guys ever see? There's a movie called Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow. Came out
my gosh, yes, I actually like that one.
The villain, I believe the villain. Oh shoot, it was the villain when we was played by is an actor who had been dead for like 20 years at that point. I had a point to make and I completely blanked on the dude's name.
That was all green screen, right?
That was all green screen. And this was at a time. This was like one of the first films with like virtual set. Laurence Olivier, a good 15, 20 years after he had been dead, and it looks okay. Like the stuff they did, it looks decent. It hasn't aged very well.
So, some of it they used archive footage for. But,
some of it they used archive footage for. Some of it they had a guy, and they were doing like the fate, like what they had to make it work. Now you could have an actor doing his voice, and you could slap Laurence Olivier's face on that guy.
Oh, there's a comedian, not a comedian, impersonationist who like does that. He creates a video where he does like a monologue from a movie and does different voices throughout the monologue. Like he'll do Jack Nicholson and then Robin Williams, and like he keeps changing throughout, and like they deep fake keep changing his face while he's talking, and it's creepy.
Ross Marquardt is an actor who's on The Walking Dead. His first movie was a film that I edited probably about 10 years ago. He kind of made a reputation for doing impersonations. He is the guy who plays Red Skull in Endgame.
Right.
Hugo Weaving does not.
And most people like that fooled me for a bit too,
for sure. And it's not like a Crispin Glover situation because it's under all the makeup, right? But you could literally hire a dude like a Ross Marquardt, be like, "Hey man, give us Laurence Olivier," and boom. Or Bela Lugosi. You could bring Bela Lugosi back as Dracula with deepfakes. Now, is this ethical? Like, at what point? Like, there's been like this whole debate of like, are actors going to be replaced? Because ultimately, you need an actor. You need someone to create a performance.
Well, there's also the side where you can get the voice and the mannerisms, but you're not going to get what they would have done.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to get up her. You still need an actor to create a performance. It's just because, like, again, someone's like, what's the difference between like slapping a face on and what Lon Chaney did 100 years ago with making him look like something different?
It's an interesting concept, because also don't forget with movies like the Marvel movies, the characters sign over their likenesses and relate it to the characters for toys.
For yes, but now you have to, because now you're effing with the Screen Actors Guild, and they don't like to be effed with. So now you have to, like, if you're going to try that, like, that actor's going to have to get paid to have his face in the movie, because they're licensing it for merchandise, and that's something completely different.
But I'm saying that that's what I'm saying. They already do that. What's to stop them from trying to take it a step further? So
the license agreement,
money.
Yeah.
That's the Crispin Glover. Like Crispin Glover did not want to do Back to the Future 2 and 2.
Right.
And they just used outtakes, and he didn't get paid for it. And he sued Universal and won. Like them, like it was him and the Screen Actors, and like and they had to pay him back. So if you're going to do that, you're gonna have to pay the piper, because somebody owns that face. Like, you're talking either the human being himself or their estate. So and you probably can, but you just got to be ready to pay them in perpetuity for the use of their face.
Yeah,
because you can get away with it in like toys is one thing, but as far as like actual like performances and getting paid, there's not a more power like as far for powerful units. It's like the AFL-CIO and then SAG.
No, see, I understand the argument, but initially, the best example of why they signed over the rights is because of Jack Nicholson, the Joker.
Yeah, he made a fortune.
He made a fortune because he's like, yeah, I'll take a smaller salary, but I want a percentage of my likeness on my face being used on the toy, and he made buco bucks off of that. So that's when they were like, okay, now you're going to sign the rights over to your face for the toy. So
right, but again, for the toy, it's one thing, but you're going to have to completely reconstruct contracts if you're going to do it for the purposes of film.
No, I get that. I'm just saying, eventually they're going to do it.
You think you're right? I think that is going to happen, because at some point someone's going, you know what would have been really good in this movie? Tupac Shakur.
Oh God! And we'll put Biggie in there too, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, eventually you're going to do that, and part of me is like, when you're playing. Because now you're it's ethical, but I mean, like, if you're doing like a biopic, right? Wouldn't it make sense? I mean, like, because they put makeup on to look like people anyway. Right. Wouldn't it make sense if you hire a guy I'll just throw Tupac out there. You're making a Tupac movie. Wouldn't you want him to look as close to Tupac as possible? And now you could slap his face on it, have someone actually play the role, do the performance, and now you look like, I don't know, it's spooky, but we're entering a really crazy world, man, as far as filmmaking goes.
Oh yeah. So
that was fun. I like talking about that.
Speaking of fun things and exciting things, I think when this article came out, John had a slight orgasm.
Oh, now, geez, you know.
Oh, admit that you did.
No, you did. Come on, no one's fooled by that.
Your favorite character, one of your favorite actors, Michael B. Jordan, to produce a Static Shock movie.
Well, I might have mentioned, Static Shock once or twice on this show.
Every other week.
Yeah, I was going to say every other week, probably half the time. So Reginald Hudlin and Michael B. Jordan will be working on this project.
So this is like you kind of say that quickly. Reggie Hudlin had a big run on on Black Panther back in the day. Also, the president, I believe, he's the former president of BET, Black Entertainment Television. So Reggie Hudlin, him and Michael B. Jordan doing this, you're talking big time players. This is big news.
They're also talking about they're building a universe around this movie centered on Black superheroes.
Dakotaverse. That's the milestone, the Dakotaverse.
Yes, the milestone stuff. So,
I mean, the backstories and everything for Static Shock, and as long as they get a good writer, there's so much interesting that they can do with this.
Icon's a really cool character too. Like people like the Superman pastiche is kind of passe, but Icon is a cool character. If they want to tap into that, the whole Icon and Rocket thing, there's a lot they can do with this. I'm very excited to see these guys getting involved. Like Michael B. Jordan, I hope he plans on playing Icon in the future.
So the comic they have said will come back in a digital series in February of 2021.
It was didn't we cover that when we did the DC?
Yes. I'm just looking at the article on the Hollywood Reporter. There is no date other than that so far about obviously, so they're in the beginning stages. We don't know no script or anything yet, so we'll see. Got to keep an eye on this one. John, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about this?
Okay, I am very excited about this. I mean, again, like
3,000.
Yes, I'm excited. 3,000. Look, the writing for the cartoon, the Bruce Timm cartoon, was just awesome, and it dealt with some very, very heavy subjects. And as long as they can keep that kind of writing with the backstory and all the social issues that Virgil's dealing with, along with all the pressures with being a bang baby and his friend Virgil, his friend what's his name, Gear, and his mother dying and all that. I mean, this could be this could be at least one more DC property that is on the same level or even better than Wonder Woman and Shazam. They can only ruin this.
Yes, I will second that. This is a great source story, and there's not a huge history with it. It's not like he's been around for 50 years and like you can borrow from different things.
Yeah.
He's been around for a couple decades, and so he has a good solid base that doesn't have a lot of crazy restarts and whatnot.
Yeah, and he has a lot more of an interest, like even his power base. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, he's just another Black Lightning." No, he's not.
No, he's not.
He has so many. His power set is so different and so much more varied than Black Lightning. There is again, his character is supposed to be another kind of Spider-Man, where he learns how to use the power. He learns enough about electricity and electromagnetism and all that to use the powers in really creative ways.
Right.
So they have so much material to technically to draw on,
Right. Cool. How about you, JD?
I'm excited. Let's do this.
All right. We're going to get to work on that right after. Oh, wait, that's not it. That's those guys. All right. So on very exciting news, guys, I can't believe it took this long for this to happen, but finally David Hasselhoff is joining the DC universe.
You lost me at Hasselhoff.
Come on,
we're like 40 years late on this, aren't we?
Everyone's favorite Nick Fury
is not going to come in as Mick Fury.
Everyone's favorite adopted father of Star-Lord, David Hasselhoff, will be doing the voice of Superman.
Wait, what? That was Kurt Russell.
Yes, but no.
He was he played one of the original Guardians of the Galaxy in that movie, right?
No, you're thinking of Stallone.
Stallone.
When Star-Lord was a kid, he carried around a picture of
Oh,
David
yeah.
Hasselhoff.
You're right.
And at the end of this movie, he started changing into different people, and one of the people he changed into was Hasselhoff. So anyway, he will be voicing Superman in the upcoming Dark Knight's Death Metal animated series coming up.
Animated movie, yeah. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, obviously it's going to be, I think it's going to be loosely based on the metal stuff that's going on in DC.
Oh, for sure. It's Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, and they both have parts in this movie, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, so, but I mean, come on. I'm sold. Hasselhoff, right?
Dude, you kind of buried the lead. Charles Fleischer is the Joker. That's Roger Rabbit.
No, the lead is Hasselhoff. I'm sorry.
He again though, Hasselhoff, how old is he? I mean,
got to be 60 something, maybe 70.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
he's older than Kit was at the time.
Ooh,
true.
So
William Daniels, can't think of the name of the actor.
So you, John, you love all the animated DC stuff. You excited for this?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I haven't followed Dark Knight's metal, the metal stuff. So
it's all right. It's bonkers.
Yeah, I know. A lot of what DC's doing has been bonkers lately.
Well, it's kind of, this is like out of continuity stuff. So
yeah,
like it's been Scott Snyder's play world for the last 3-4 years now.
Yeah, about that, I guess. So I'm not familiar enough with the source material to actually be. I'm interested. My interest level is extremely high, but excited, I don't know enough about it to be excited. So
I'll tell you this: this is how familiar I am with the source material. A friend of mine did a cover for one of the metal books for the Batman Who Laughs. He did an alternate cover where he did a Harley Quinn Who Laughs, who is not a character in the story, but is one of his favorite characters. So he did a version of her and has somehow become part of the zeitgeist. There was a statue made of her. There's a bunch of fan art online with it. And apparently they ended up making her a character in a future story. So yeah, like that's what I know. That's it. But apparently a lot of people love the metal stuff. So. How about you, JD? Have you read any of it?
I read the first 2 issues, and it just, I don't know, it wasn't quite what I wanted, but it wasn't bad. Like, I like Scott Snyder. It just wasn't quite what I like about it. I don't know. It just didn't quite hit for me. And a lot of the DC animated movies don't quite hit for me either. So I'm probably not going to see it, but I don't know. Sounds like a good idea.
Okay, cool. And since we're running long, this is the last story we'll cover. The Green Lantern series got greenlit, and we have on HBO Max, and we have our writers, our showrunners, Seth Graham-Smith and Mark Guggenheim. Okay. And,
Guggenheim.
What was one of them is like, I was trying to find.
Okay. So Guggenheim is the partner of Berlanti.
That's
it. He was behind Arrow and a lot of the DC shows on CW.
Yeah,
Seth Graham-Smith made a big name for himself writing the novel Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yes.
Which was a great movie.
No, it was not. But yes.
Yeah, it was. It's a popcorn movie. It's not there. It's not high cinema. That's
really Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter is not high cinema. I'm shocked to hear that.
It's a fun movie just for a Saturday. But go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
I was talking to JD.
I know I was done. That's what. So they actually have some guys with some cred to them. I don't know. Did you read the team? The Green Lanterns they're going to use?
Gardner,
Jessica Cruz,
Simon Baz, Alan Scott.
It's the B team Lanterns, pretty much.
And of course they'll have Sinestro and Kilowog in it. Yeah, I don't know. It does make me wonder because it's like, are they not using Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart because they want to save them for the movies?
Yeah, I think so.
BS again, and it's just like, but every time they do that, they end up hurting themselves.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you're doing an HBO Max show like this, you really need to come out guns blazing, because like the Green Lantern comic was at a real high between like 2006 and 2011. Like it was like top selling, big name. Like they based the Blackest Night and Brightest Day events around Green Lantern. And then when the movie came out, it like really kind of killed the franchise and took the comics down a peg or two, to the point where Green Lantern, I wouldn't even put him in the upper echelon of DC anymore. Mm-hmm. So I think they needed to really come out guns blazing and put Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan in the show if you're going to do a core show.
Now, just to make a point here, in 2012, Green Lantern, the animated series.
Yes. And it got terrible ratings because of the movie.
Right, because of the movie. But the show was actually written incredibly well.
I agree. Bruce Timm said it's his best show.
Yeah, I don't doubt it, because like, I mean, I nearly cried on the last episode.
Fantastic show. I will never say a bad word. I love Green Lantern. One of my all-time favorite characters. I love everything about it. But
the fact that they canceled it really pissed me off.
And that's the thing, though, is like the movie really hurt the property.
Yeah.
And I don't think holding back on Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, is a good idea. At least Jon Stewart should be in this. He's the most recognizable Lantern to a generation, to like your millennials, let's say. They're the ones who grew up with the Justice League animated series.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are most familiar with Jon Stewart as the Green Lantern, and they really should have at least used him. It's a mistake.
There have been people who have argued that was the Green Lantern movie was bad, but there were people who argued the thing that hurt it is it didn't use Jon Stewart, because the younger people who were most likely going to go see it were more familiar with the cartoon, so they were more familiar with Jon Stewart.
I don't think the premise is wrong, but I don't think that's what hurt the movie. What hurt the movie was that it sucked.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and the CGI suit and all that.
Oh shit.
Even Kyle Rayner was, even while Bruce Timm's run was going on, I think wasn't Kyle Rayner.
Kyle Rayner stopped. Kyle Rayner was a Green Lantern, but Hal Jordan became the focus of the Green Lantern series again in 2004.
Well, after he was resurrected from Armageddon. Because
he was the Spectre. Yeah. He becomes Green Lantern again in Green Lantern Rebirth. That's fall of 2004.
Yeah.
And the Green Lantern series launches spring of 2005, and he had been the focus of the comic ever since, because he's Jeff Johns' favorite. Right. And this is when Jeff Johns was ruling over DC.
And Kyle Rayner became the White Lantern.
Kyle Rayner he was Ion, and then eventually became the White Lantern with the Brightest Day thing. Mm. But yeah, at the same time, like while Kyle Rayner is the Green Lantern in the comics, they put Jon Stewart as the Green Lantern in the Justice League animated series. So those coincided.
Right.
Because when Jon Stewart was the Green Lantern on TV, he was not even in the books until a year later.
Which is funny, because it's another thing where they told Bruce Timm he couldn't use Jordan. Right?
Well, Jordan was dead. at the time. Right. He was the Spectre, but they wanted to use Jon Stewart for some diversity. And he liked the character of Jon Stewart, thought he was a good character. He is a good character. And they kind of brought him, because at that time, Jon Stewart had not been Green Lantern since 94, when Hal Jordan goes bonkers.
Yeah, but of course, Bruce Timm touches it and turned to gold.
Absolutely.
Especially adding the subplot with him and Shiera.
Yep.
The Hawk Woman, because that is one of the greatest love stories I've ever seen in animation. Like, but the interplay that lasted between, through all of Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
4 seasons, yeah. It's a through line. It's a through line of the show. It's the only love story, really, of the show. No, Bruce Timm. There is no one that did better for DC Comics than Bruce Timm.
Yeah,
like he's the man. Sorry, Dave.
I was gonna say, and he didn't find his girlfriend in a refrigerator.
Cutting down Ron Mars.
That was
John. Are you not familiar with the woman in the refrigerator thing? It's an entire trope. This is how Gail Simone got recognized. She wrote a website called Women in Refrigerators, because the second or third issue, I forget, of when Kyle Rayner takes over as Green Lantern, Major Disaster kills his girlfriend and literally stuffs her into a refrigerator.
Oh, yes. I think I heard of that.
And that's where the term fridging comes from. And it's basically women only exist in comics to be motivation, tragic motivation for male characters. And Gwen Stacy probably being the best example.
Or to talk about girl problems. What's that measure of movies where?
The Bechdel scale.
Yeah, the Bechdel.
Bechtel, is that how it's pronounced? Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know if I would go for John for pronunciations, but I think he's correct this time. All right. So yes, I hope that we don't end up in refrigerators. All right. On that note, we'll take our final commercial break. I'll be right back with our main topic.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right. So, continuing on with our Halloween-y type theme.
You put the Halloween theme music under this part when you're editing.
I thought we could talk about getting in the mood for Halloween this year and what are some of our favorite Halloween type movies. And I want to preface this with they don't have to be necessarily scary movies. Just Halloween.
Okay, I misunderstood because I did the scary movies.
So I did scary / horror movie. Yeah. I mean, mostly spooky horror.
All right. So John, you can go first. What's your number 5?
My number 5. I didn't number them. I forget which one.
Well, pick your least favorite of the 5 you picked.
And I've got. I do have 5. Hey, what do you? Well, technically, I've got 6 because I'm counting 2 as 1.
I did 12 because I didn't want to repeat anybody. But go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm counting on this to teach me some movies that I want to see this weekend. So I don't know. At number 5, I guess I'll put I'll put The Relic.
Really?
This is a very underrated film. I thought it was scary, and it was really done. I thought it was really done well. The camera work and all of that, they kept you guessing, and the monster reveal at the end was pretty damn cool, and the storyline I liked too. It's like much better than some of the other horror movies, like the B horror movies that you see normally. I think it was done. It was done as a real feature presentation and not just as we need a horror movie to show this weekend or something. Have you ever seen it?
I saw this movie at the theater when it came out when I was in high school. Okay.
I've seen it a couple of times on the TV, and a lot of it they have to cut out to show on TV. But it was pretty cool. I don't know. So The Relic, and the first time I saw it, it was kind of scary,
Cool. All right, JD, how about you? You're your number 5.
The greatest haunting movie ever made. A film that should not work because it was directed by a horror pioneer and produced by someone who's really looked at more for his nostalgic take on American life. And that's, of course, being Tobe Hooper of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Steven Spielberg of Steven Spielberg fame. And that film is, of course, Poltergeist.
Oh, yeah. Why did I not remember that one?
Spooky as all get out. It's aged for a film made in 1982. My God, has it aged well?
Oh yeah, and that scared me from going into pools for a while.
That scared me from watching TV.
Scared me from clowns, man. When I was a little kid, that's why before I knew what it was, like the clown in Poltergeist, messed me the F up.
And the thing was back in Dave and I's day when at late at night TV networks would go off air and you would get static. So the static was scary too, because, every time you walk by, it's like, do I hear Carrie Ann? What is this? It's like, so.
All right. My number 5. You ready for this? This is gonna just mention this. It's gonna scare you guys.
My Little Pony.
1949. This movie is from 1949.
Wow. That year scares me.
The original of the thing?
Walt Disney's Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
I freaking love that movie, Dave. That's a great call.
Damn, that was good.
I probably saw this when I was 5 or 6 for the first time. And of course, it's a cartoon. It's fine.
I'm sure.
Scared the crap out of me for a long time.
Throw the kids in front of the TV and let them watch that. I'm sure it's a cartoon. It'll be fine.
Yes. Yeah.
I was the Headless Horseman 2 different Halloweens growing up.
Yes. So that movie always affected me. So
what a great call. Nice job.
Thanks.
All right, John, you're number 4.
All right. For number 4, I'm going with Jaws.
Just straight up Joel is afraid to go in the bathtub.
Afraid to go into the freaking water. Now, I mean, part of the problem was that I grew up in Breezy Point. I partially grew up in Breezy Point, New York, which is a beachside community. And after I saw that movie, I could get going into the ocean or the bay was a non-starter. My grandmother and my mother spent a while trying to coax me back in. And all I could think of is that a fin? Was that a fin? I swear I saw a fin out there. So I know some of these aren't really scary in the classic sense. It's just a lot of them really affected me when I was a kid.
Yes. No, that was the whole point of this list.
I know, but so far you and JD have picked much better.
No, I love Jaws. Jaws is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Jaws is one of the greatest horror films ever made.
Yes.
It's the film that defined blockbuster. It was considered one of the first blockbuster movies.
All right, JD, you're number 4.
My number 4, I'm probably going to be the only person that picked something made in the 21st century. And this, again, I had a list of 12 that I'm just picking from as it strikes me. So this is from 2017. And, a couple weeks ago, I said Pennywise the Clown was one of my favorite villains in all of horror. So 2017's It is on my list.
2017. Okay.
Yes, it's better. I love the miniseries is really good. It's probably the best made for television, maybe even film, aside from horror film. For a TV movie, the 1990 one is great, but the 2017 adaptation of Stephen King's It is scarier. And I think the the performances of the children are better. And Bill Skarsgård plays Pennywise the Clown much closer to the way Stephen King depicted him in the novel. Yeah. Where it's more of a force of nature, more of an entity who doesn't, we kind of like how he does this cool thing where he trails off sometimes when he speaks and just kind of because he's a creature that shouldn't really exist in the world and doesn't quite know how to fit in, so he just kills things instead. It's really good, man. The second it gets unfortunately, because the second half of the book isn't as good. The kids versus monsters works, whereas the adults coming back versus the monster doesn't work as well. So It Part 2 doesn't quite land with a lot of people, but that shouldn't take away how damn good It 1 really is. And it's really good.
Classic ending for what's his name, for King, right?
Yep.
He never can really end something.
And it's funny because they actually write that into the Bill character is an author, and they keep saying, he doesn't know how to end a story.
Yeah, just because you call it out doesn't make it right.
Well, I'm saying it's good, but it's such a part of the early King works. I think now he's gotten better at that. But the early King works, they all the endings of all of them are kind of,
Yeah.
Shining, I think, is pretty good. But otherwise, a lot of them are okay. Yeah, but that's the best part too, is it's just, it's the end of Act 1 in the book. So, Stephen King's It.
All right. My number 4. Okay. So trust me, I didn't pick all movies from this company. It's not a theme, but this is a movie from 1993. It's something that you can watch at Halloween or at Christmas time. And it's one of
your mind.
It's one of mine and my daughter's favorite movies, and we love to watch it together. So I, of course, had to include The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Love this movie.
Yes, Jack Skellington is my hero.
It's Andy's hero too. I tell stories of him at night, and he wants me to make up Jack Skellington stories because he is convinced. He tells everybody Jack Skellington is a superhero.
Cool.
He is absolutely convinced Jack Skellington is a superhero.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing. It's a great movie.
Yeah, and like I said, it works. You can watch it now, or you can watch it in November before Christmas.
Yeah.
All right, John, you're number 3.
My original number 3 was going to be Halloween 1 and 2.
Which would have been cheating because that's 2 movies.
Well, technically, it's only one story. I mean,
Yes.
But because number 2 continues 5 seconds after the first one ended. But then I remembered while listening to you two, I remembered there's something much scarier in my life. Now, Dave will get this. I don't know if you will, JD. I'm going to say The Day After.
Is that the made-for-TV movie with the nuclear bomb?
Yes.
Yeah. But I never saw it.
It traumatized an entire generation.
But you got to remember, like, this is back in the day when some of us were still being taught to duck and cover in school. And like when The Day After came out, I was young enough that I didn't quite have a concept of what a nuclear war would be like. And we were in the midst of, the deepest, darkest part of the Cold War. And when that movie came out, it freaked the hell everybody out.
Yep.
Like my parents, my grandparents, like everybody I know. Like I remember hearing adults talking about it.
So much so they did an episode on the Goldbergs about it.
Yeah.
And everyone was freaked out by it. Yeah.
There was that one in Threads, but I think The Day After was scarier.
Yeah.
And it was because back then, a nuclear war was, we thought it was inevitable. And nobody had really, you're being taught to duck and cover in school. It's like, oh, that's no big deal. We'll duck and cover. It'll be fine. And then you watch this movie, you're like, holy crap, we're all dead. And we're not just quickly dead, but just dead in horrible ways.
People thought duck and cover still worked in the 80s. That surprises me.
Well, that's what they were teaching. That's what they were teaching the kids. Like, I'm sure the parents by then
kiss it goodbye.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure by then the parents were, more knowledgeable, but still for a kid to watch that, it's like, holy shit, this is real. Like, it's one thing to see a movie like, The Day After Tomorrow and think, oh yeah, it's a disaster movie. Yay. But watching that and realizing that everybody's finger is on the button and it could actually happen the next day, it scared the crap out of us. I think, those two movies might have actually had an effect on the psyche of the world.
I believe so.
In stopping a third world war.
I think a lot. I think our generation that grew up who watched that movie became even so more afraid of it.
Yeah.
It's why, peace talks became more important to us and ending the Cold War.
Yeah, because until then, nobody really understood what radiation poisoning did to you. And then you're watching people drop dead in this as their skin is just sliding off their bones. And you're like, oh, God. All
right. Whoa. John.
Hey, you wanted horror, man.
JD, what's your number 3?
So I'm going to switch it out because my horror number 3 is actually it's actually my favorite Christmas. So I'm going to save that for when we talk about Christmas stuff. So I'm going to go into my bench and I'm going to say my number 4 movie still takes place in the snow.
Number
3 takes place in the snow. It's John Carpenter's The Thing.
Okay, not The Shining, The Thing.
Yeah, I don't really like The Shining all that much. I like King more than I like Kubrick.
I will second JD on that one.
Yeah, the Thing, a remake, a genius remake that surpasses the original in terms of scares and is just really well acted. Everything is really subtle. There's long stretches of silence, and it's a great. It taps into. We talk about the Cold War stuff in the early 50s. There is this mantra. There's this like thing in Cold War films, like Body Snatchers, like Think from the World, where you can't trust the person next to you
because he might be a communist.
Yeah, and The Thing really captures that emotion. Not that he's a communist, but that he is an alien killing machine.
Right.
And it's spooky, man. It holds up. Some of the practicals don't hold up as well. Some of them hold up really, really well.
Yeah.
So,
the head
is amazing. I mean, it still looks great. Some of the crap stuff they do with the dog is just like, it still works. So yeah, man. John Carpenter's The Thing.
Cool. So my number 3 goes back to, again, movies that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. I've heard that it is supposedly based on a true story. And of course, that would be The Exorcist.
You son of a baby.
Oh my God. I don't remember where I was. It was some party or something. And it was like a Halloween time. And they were like, oh, we got The Exorcist. Let's watch it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I was probably 12 at the time. And I was just like, that scared me so badly. And I will say this, when I got older, I'm going to say my early 20s, one Halloween, we were like, all hanging out, me and my friends were like, let's run a movie. I'm like, I remember being scared by this as a kid. And I wasn't as scared about it as an adult. But it still is a creepy movie.
I think the thing with that, and I wrote my senior thesis on this film. It's one of my all-time favorite films. It is my favorite horror movie, but now I have to remove it because you brought it up. Fortunately, I went through a deep. Fortunately, I built a deep base. But this is a movie that a lot of people like look at it. They go, "Well, it's not scary," but at the same, but I think that. Oh man, I could go on forever about this. I really could. I'll try not to. But I think that. I had a friend in high school that never saw The Godfather. And by the time we saw The Godfather in college, he was like, that was okay. I feel like I've seen it before. And it's like, yeah, you do, because every other movie has stolen from it so liberally. And I think that so much of modern horror has liberally stolen from The Exorcist that looking back on it, and again, it's a 50-year-old movie. So, I mean, like some of it hasn't aged well. I still think it's genius.
Cool. All right, John, you're number 2.
My number 2 is Alien.
Oh, good call.
The original, not Aliens.
Alien, because like both incredibly excellent movies.
Yes.
The first one is a horror movie. The second one is kind
action.
of
It's an action movie.
It's an action movie. But it's still, I mean, it's still good. I mean, the suspense in the second movies in Aliens is awesome. But Alien itself, I saw it in the theater, snuck in and scared the crap out of myself. So, you know,
you are a face hugger, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, no, but I'll tell you, I had nightmares about, you know, you wake up with the pillow on your head and you can't breathe and you're screaming because you think that you're about to get, you know, have an alien burst out of your chest. That's just freaking wonderful. And again, the genius of that movie was that, Ridley Scott, the director,
Ridley Scott.
Yeah, Ridley Scott.
Yeah, he. There were some scenes in that where he did not tell them what was going to happen. So the reactions, especially in the scene where the first chest burster comes out, none of the actors in that scene knew what was going to happen. So all of their reactions are real, and they were scared shitless.
Yeah, all the best horror movies I've seen like that, I think.
Yeah. So that's my number 4.
Number 2.
Number 2, yeah. Number 2. Sorry, I had a whole bunch to listed I would recommend everybody go out and see Alien and then Aliens. It really holds up.
Right. All right, JD, you're number 2.
I guess I'm reshuffling my list because I don't want to be repeating anybody.
I'm not bothering.
I can't do that. So my number 2 is I have this. I enjoy horror comedies a lot. Because not because they're funny, but because like there's a sense of fun in them that I think a lot of horror misses. Like, and it's not just you have to be like silly, but there's a sense of, you know, you're having a good time when you're watching, even though like sometimes it gets a little serious, but sometimes you can have a chuckle and it makes for a more enjoyable experience to me. So a lot of the horror comedies of the 80s hold a good spot. This one is not from the 80s, but it's definitely influenced from those films. And it's a movie that starts off as one movie. It starts off as a crime drama. And then about halfway through, the movie takes an abrupt turn when the characters travel to Mexico and go to do a meet off at a seedy bar just across the border. And that movie is From Dusk Till Dawn.
I was going to say, I knew that one.
Robert, it's you could tell like the script was written by Quentin Tarantino, and the first half totally feels like a Quentin Tarantino movie, and it was directed by Robert Rodriguez, and the second half absolutely feels like Robert Rodriguez.
It's one of Salma Hayek's finest movies.
I was gonna say like that's on my list of Salma Hayek films. So
cool. All right, my number 2, since I'm so glad John took it off his list, is the original. I won't cheat and say 1 and 2, even though they are one story. Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween, of course. This is, I feel it's an excellent. We've talked about this movie I think before. It's a definite exploration in tension and suspense and build up. You know, like people watch it and we go, it's boring. It's like you're missing the point. Like they're building up to that Halloween night, and
same thing. Same as I was talking about before. It's like so much of it has been stolen.
Yes.
then it makes watching it with younger eyes feel like you don't quite get it. Like you don't get what Carpenter was doing. This was groundbreaking shit in the 70s.
Yes, and
it takes a page from all the best stuff like Alien and Jaws, where the less you see of the bad guy and the monster or whatever, the more suspense there is.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan said it best. Is like some of the best movies is when the camera pans away from the villain and you don't see the kill. So because what's in your mind is much worse than what they could possibly put on the screen.
He knows that, and yet he still can't make a good movie.
Yeah, he did it once or twice, but I mean, like, yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's so funny because, like, in sequels to these movies, they focus so much on the killer that they lose track of what makes it work, and it's not like especially the Michael Myers character, who's never referred to as Michael Myers in this movie. He's the shape. Like, it's about Laurie. The movie is about Laurie, and she's trying to survive the night. But I mean, again, you get this enigmatic monster that really could be anything in Michael Myers, that everything else goes to focus squarely on that. And you lose it. You lose what makes that movie cool in subsequent sequels.
Right. And that's the thing is too, people miss the point. Like everything that happens to him in the first movie is survivable. Falling out of a second story window is survivable. Mm-hmm. That's why it all takes place over one Halloween night.
Halloween night.
And shot 6 times in the chest is not survivable, really, but I mean, technically.
That's not in the first movie. That's the second movie.
That's the second movie.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, the first movie, he stumbles backwards out the window, over the banister, and falls. And then when she goes to check the body, he's gone.
This movie owes a lot more to like the town that dreaded sundown and Texas Chainsaw than it does like what would become Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. Like Michael Myers is very human in this movie.
Yeah, and John Carpenter has said for decades that he died at the end of Michael Myers died at the end of the second movie. Like he wasn't supposed to continue on. He wasn't a supernatural killer or anything like that. But he also wanted money, so he sold the rights.
Right.
Well, he had to pay. I mean, that's what you do. Like, you want to get, especially that's one of his first movies. It's like his third movie or something like that.
Yeah. Don't forget the most tragic part of Halloween, the death of Ben Tramer. Like there is still like a hashtag justice for Ben Tramer out there. Like it's a meme these days. I mean. So the movie is still well known.
All right. Well,
great movie.
As our resident meme, John, what is your number one?
See, now somebody already said my number one, but I'm going with it anyway. So let me give some background that JD didn't go into. The original thing, otherwise known as The Thing from Otherworld, from 1951, I think it was a quote unquote monster movie set in the the North Pole and basically kind of the same setup, but the monster was draining people's blood in order to grow more of its own kind. It was black and white, 1951. Wasn't that scary, although it did use the same type of suspense building where you did not see the monster for almost the entire thing until the end. The remake. So the first time I saw The Thing in 1982, my father had just bought our very first VCR, and the first movie he picks up to watch is The Thing, and he sits my 12-year-old ass down, my brother's 10-year-old ass, and my sister's 8-year-old ass down to watch The Thing on the VCR because it was so cool that we had a VCR now. We had to try it out. And you for months, us 3 kids had fucking nightmares about this thing. I mean, can you imagine watching that when you're like, 8 and 10? I mean,
I can top it, but keep going.
Yeah, but you get the so like and I don't think I know that my father probably hadn't realized just how far horror had come since his days. So he figured this would be fun, and it was fine for a few minutes, and then the dog's face split open, but that was fun. It's like puppy. Oh my god. So so like JD said, like most of the effects still they still hold up very well. The suspense of the movie has not aged one bit.
Not at all.
And the ending, the way it ends is just perfect.
Yeah.
You know
what's cool about that too is they use the same font for the thing that they use in the original Howard Hawks version. I always respected that.
No, they had to pay tribute, and again, like I mean, they did pay homage to it just by, I mean, I guess this is a recurring theme where the less of the monster you see, the better the movie, and
better.
And this, and the 1951 did that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was all, what's that? We just, we hear a crash, so let's go over. There's a huge hole in the wall. There's snow coming in, and 3 of their guys are gone. It's like, but that's all you know. So you never knew what the hell's going on. And for a 1950 movie, it was pretty scary.
All right. JD.
All right. So you took my number one, so I'm not going to go to it. So I'm going to.
Okay, hold on. Before you give us our number one.
Oh, okay.
Stop fighting with our followers on Twitter. All right.
Don't come at me with Superman. Yeah. You know how I feel about Superman.
What was your original number one?
The Exorcist.
Okay.
Okay.
One of my favorite movies, but I'm not going to steal Dave's thunder. So I'm going to let him have it. So I bumped up my list a little bit. I said that I loved the horror comedies in the 1980s. And what I like about them is that they're not like the term comedy gets thrown around. Like they're not silly, like they're played straight, but there's moments of levity in the movies that make them a little bit more digestible, make them a little more fun to watch. And I think the best example of this, and I don't think anybody would straight up call this movie a comedy, but it's got some laughs in it, and it's the best werewolf movie ever made. Nothing has touched it since, and that's An American Werewolf in London.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought you were going to say Silver Bullet.
Oh God, Silver Bullet is not the best werewolf movie ever made. Oh, not even close. So yeah, no. American Werewolf in London is a fantastic piece of cinema. It deals with a young man who's a stranger in a strange land who now has a strange element, and he's falling in love, and he's also turning into a goddamn monster.
Yes. It's a perfect analogy for what do they call it? Is it stranger syndrome? People move to another country and they don't feel connected to anything.
Yeah, it's the stranger strange land thing. I don't know if there's an actual term for it, but it totally is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a
culture shock. Well, there's culture shock.
Culture shock.
Yeah.
No, and that definitely could be on there. Like, I just love this movie. I think the performances are really good. They're subtle. The Rick Baker transformation scene is to this day the best werewolf transformation scene.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Have you ever seen the
holds up
behind the scenes stuff? How they did that?
Yes, I have. Yes, and it was a major influence. I can't deny it. Major influence on me when I was writing Harvest Moon all these years. I always wanted to take. My goal was to take American Werewolf in London and mix it with Manhunter or the Red Dragon, and those were my two big influences in creating my own werewolf story. So I mean, American Werewolf in London is it. It's a great movie.
See, when you said horror comedy, I thought you were going to go Evil Dead for some reason.
And I like the Evil Dead, but I like the Evil Dead mainly for my love of indie film. Like I love watching indie film because I like watching, this is what they did with nothing. And I really respect that. It's like watching El Mariachi. But if I show it to normal people, they look at me like I'm stupid. So,
well, that is true.
This is terrible. I'm like, yeah, it is, but that's part of the fun.
That's part of the point. Yeah,
it is. So that's why I didn't want to include Evil Dead unless I love Evil Dead 2. It's on my in my list of honorable mentions. But I think Evil Dead 2 is the better movie.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right, go ahead, Dave. That we can talk after.
Okay. So my number one is probably in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. It has a like any good Halloween spooky movie. It has a good tragic story behind it, and of course, I am talking about The Crow.
Oh God, what a great movie!
Yes, Halloween movie, revenge, coming back from the dead.
And then the death of the main actor, like,
yes.
What more could you ask for a horror movie?
Yes. I mean, it's not necessarily a horror movie, but it's definitely a dark movie.
No, it's definitely not horror, but I definitely see where you're coming from. It's like, it's super, super dark.
Yes.
It's a great movie, and it's aged pretty good, to be honest.
And you know what? It's dark, but yet you don't feel terrible about the world after you watch it.
It can't rain every day.
Exactly.
That's the whole point of The Crow, is like, it's this super dark story, and you find justice and you find hope through the darkness.
Yes.
That it is it's such a genius story. Through the darkness that you find redemption.
I think it's the first movie I actually saw in the theater multiple times. I think I saw it in the theater 3 times. Yeah. It's just, it blew my mind away. I mean, it's a movie I was so mad after I watched it that Brandon Lee died making it, because it was like, oh my God, he's such a great actor. I want to see more of this character played by him. And of course, we got a bunch of crappy sequels after that.
And it's the real shame is he finally stepped, because he was doing stuff for a good 3-4 years before then, but it was all like martial arts movies and, clearly in his father's shadow.
Yes.
And he finally stepped out of that shadow and like never really had. And this is such a tragic story, because he's so good in that. It's almost like Heath Ledger in Batman is like, and Heath Ledger had some attention before, and people knew how good he was, but he hadn't quite taken on to the mainstream yet. And people were like, man, this guy was about to be something special.
Yep.
Shame. Great movie.
I'm surprised that nobody mentioned Phantasm in there.
Well, I was going to say, does anyone have any honorable mentions, John?
Oh, I have.
I've got a couple.
And Phantasm was going to be one of my honorable mentions. So go ahead, John.
Well, yeah, that's one of mine. But if you want real true horror, anything by Neil Breen is true horror. It will make you feel like the human race has completely failed and should be wiped off the planet. So,
or The Boys will do that too. Anyway, I'm sorry.
No. Do you know who Neil Breen is?
No. Give me a hint.
I can't give you a hint. You just have to watch one of his movies and then either cry
give me a movie
or laugh.
Give me a movie he made.
There's like Double Down, I Am Here, ... now, Fateful Findings, Pass Through, Twisted Pair.
I have no idea. I'm a film guy. I have no idea who this person is.
Yeah,
Neil Breen is probably one of the worst filmmakers of all time.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
And the movies he makes are like, if you took Rocky Horror Picture Show and multiplied it by The Room, that's how bad his movies are.
So like worse than Uwe Boll?
Oh yeah, no. Uwe Boll is a master compared to this. So
okay.
So like the last time my brother stopped by my house, we spent an afternoon just watching these and drinking and laughing at them.
All right.
So because the only thing they're good for is the MST3K treatment.
Fair enough.
How about you, JD? Any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I got 4. I'll go. I won't blow by blow. I'll just tell you. Like I said, the horror comedies of the 80s I'm big fans of, and I put The Lost Boys and The Monster Squad. And then I had 2 outliers. The Omen. I love The Omen.
I completely forgot about The Omen.
It's one of my favorite movies as far as like I love. You know me and like Hellstrom and stuff like that. Like the occult stuff is fascinating to me. And the evil kid who doesn't even know he's being evil is just it's a great movie. It's well acted. Richard Donner got it. That was the movie that got him Superman. And then a little known horror film with a great cast is just fell outside, and I didn't put it on because I didn't think you guys would be familiar with it. And that's Frailty. Have you guys seen Frailty?
No.
Frailty stars Matthew McConaughey and Bill Paxton, and it's from like 1999 or 2000. It's Matthew McConaughey walks into a police station and confesses that his father was a serial killer, and he was a serial killer that believed God was sending him messages to kill demons. And so him and Matthew McConaughey's brother would go around. These are them as kids would go around and killing people, and he's confessing this. And then the story goes on, and they do like a switcheroo, like a Usual Suspects, where it turns out it's Matthew McConaughey who was actually the brother that was killing people, and you find out they were killing demons. And he kills this cop who is actually a demon in disguise, and they're trying to find who did it. And the camera, like the overhead camera, blurs in that moment. Cool. Like it goes from this kid telling this crazy story about his dad to at the very end, you're like, it's all true. It's such a good movie, and it flies so under the radar. Like I highly recommend it to anyone.
I'm gonna have to watch that.
It's a good one. Frailty. I just gave you the whole movie, so sorry.
All right,
that's okay.
I have a few honorable mentions. The two I'm going to talk real quick. These, I was talking about the stuff that messed me up as a kid. The first one, of course, me and my friends watched all of these movies. I don't know why, and it really messed me up. Was the Phantasm movies? John, thank you very much for reminding me how much that they messed me up. The Tall Man. Yeah. Oh my God. And then it's not a movie. But I remember being a little kid and scared the crap out of me. Michael Jackson's Thriller video.
That's spooky. The same director as my number one, American Wolf London, John Landis.
Yes, John Landis. Yes. That just. Oh my God! I had to. Whenever we were at someone's house that had MTV and that video came on, I had to walk out of the room. I was probably 6 or 7 when that came out. All right, and then I had to be older than that. It was the 80s.
Probably the greatest music video that was ever made.
Yeah, probably. And then I have to mention this. Shout out to first off, a friend of mine, Dave Sipon. There was a movie that was locally made. Dave Wascovich was the director and writer of this movie, called Suburban Sasquatch. So it's an independent movie. Probably one of the worst movies you'll ever see. And they mentioned it on the Wizard podcast like 3 or 4 months ago. And I was just like, oh my God, I didn't think anyone outside of 5 people in Philadelphia had ever heard of that movie before. And Joey from So Wizard was like, oh yeah, no, man, it's one of my favorite worst movies of all time. So yeah, my friend is in the movie. He plays like the best friend of the hero and has this big long monologue scene. Yeah, so
independent films are hard. I will never crap on an independent film.
Mm.
Oh no, I get it, but it's bad.
There's not doubting it. I won't do it.
It was good enough that it has a riff tracks for it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's actually a level of success for an independent film.
Yeah.
To get made fun of professionally.
I now know what I'm going to do this weekend.
There you go. Maybe you guys should check out that you listening should check out Suburban Sasquatch. All right. I think it's time to wrap up the show for the week. Another long one. John, you got any recommendations for the audience?
Check out Hellstrom. I mean, it's probably going to be only one season of it, but it's worth it. So far, I'm like JD. I haven't finished it, but 2 episodes in, and it's connecting with me. So
I think if enough people watch it, they might get a second season.
Awesome.
I don't know.
How about you, JD?
I'll watch Frailty. I just think I sold it a little bit on here. I mean, like I'm thinking about it right now, but like, man, I really like this movie. So
yeah, I just
I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure what streaming platforms it's available on, but I'm sure it's somewhere. So it's a good one. It's pre-McConaissance, but it gives you a hint of how good a young Matthew McConaughey really was.
Cool. All right. I will recommend, as I always do, make sure you check out superheroespeak.com, where you can find the podcast every week. Comic reviews by our good friend D Square. There was another one just put up this week. And and don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And I don't really I spent my weekend finishing up on The Boys, and I wouldn't recommend it. So I really won't have anything for this week other than if you want to feel like you want to die, go ahead and finish watching The Boys. That's all I'm gonna say. Sorry. I can't, I know I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but I
like being the one nerd culture podcast out there telling you The Boys sucks. I take a lot of pride in that. So
we're so edgy,
We're the edgelords now, right?
Oh,
JD?
Christ.
Yeah.
On that note, boys and girls, as always, thanks for listening. Don't let your cake be caught in the door. Have a good week.